Okay, and on to the special little thing. So, another topic I've been been milling about, basically. Today, just discussing action economics, which requires that I explain what that is first, which is mostly done by the name, but let's elaborate a bit for a minute. By immediately scrolling down my notes and not changing the page like I want to. There we go. In any turn-based game, there are things that take actions. Actions are how you accomplish things, and more actions is a type of advantage. But not all actions are created equal. A boss will generally do more of an action than a mook, and things that take to take limited resources should be more powerful than something you can do all the time. Not always, but they should be. In any case. And then there's the things that outright mess with action economics directly, the most common of which is giving the opposition a case of the dead. But a lot of games also have good old-fashioned crowd control, which has lots of forms, but boils down to spend action to take away the actions of several combatants, usually through some type of status condition, but it also can be done through good old-fashioned tar pits, classic spells like Grease and Web are prime examples, and depending on how few HP enemies have, AoE spells can be a form of crowd control as well, since again dead is the most powerful debuff in the game and is especially effective in 4th edition D&D, where you have an entire class of creatures that have 1 hit point. Then there's other action types like hiding, which is usually done out of combat, but some systems think the rogue character is going to be alternating between hiding and attacking from round to round, not realizing how inefficient and kind of boring that is. But in general, I find any action to do an action around later to be boring for the player and poor game design. When it's my turn, I want to do a thing, not a thing that is a prerequisite to do a thing and hope no one foils my mediocre action that any intelligent opponent would see coming. Defensive bolstering actions are another weird category, but they can have their place, and with a swarm of opponents, they can act like a strange type of CC if the defensive action is strong enough to actually be tempting, though a fight where you're spending all of your actions only doing defensive actions is a fight you will lose by default. Of course, all of this is governed by me somehow losing a slide.
Happens.
Yep. Of course, all this is governed by cubic randomizers that secretly control all games from the shadows. The dreaded chance of failure sinks all gross actions into a fractional net actions. If you have a 20% chance of failing an attack action, you would only contribute 0.8 actions per round. Furthermore, buffs and debuffs can contribute to your net actions in that way as well. Plus 3 damage on an attack that does only 3 damage normally doubles the net actions you do per round effectively. Oh no, wait, this was that slide for that. I forget the slides I made earlier. Also, don't you hate when that happens? You bend down, tie your shoes, they spontaneously combust.
Only if you have to make a check.
Well,
if the game calls for a shoe tying check, then yes, you have a 120 chance to fail to tie your shoes.
If your DM calls for a shoe tying check, you need to take off your shoe in real life and slap him with it.
You actually don't in 3, 5, or 4th, or 5th, now that I think about it, because none of them fail on a 1.
Nope, your DM has fails on a 1 for everything.
Yeah.
What is this, Baldur's Gate?
The Baldur's Gate doesn't... Baldur's Gate does.
No, it does. For 1. Baldur's Gate teaches bad actions.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yep. Alright, so now let's go more into depth and discuss this a little, using mostly 3-5 actions as a rough outline, because it's what we've been talking about, and is strangely good example of many different types of actions, though the word good is doing some heavy lifting here. You throw fucking everything into a blender. And anyway, so starting with initiative. Yeah, initiative isn't literally an action, it's just how you order actions, and there's a lot of different ways of doing that from various systems. Usually, the default is roll, and whoever has high roll goes first. Although how that's even interpreted can be weird. Early editions of D&D, some of them were like roll a d4, and the opposing side does as well, and then whoever the entire side that rolled higher goes, or things like that. But yeah. in general, I'm not actually sure. Then there's like other more esoteric initiative systems or just straight randomized ones. Like here, let's pass out some cards, which leaves nothing to leaves nothing to dice. Which usually when you're rolling dice for initiative, there's something that modifies it. So the faster characters can kind of get an edge on initiative, which sounds like a good idea at the time, up until the point where you realize this is actually way too good an advantage in certain situations if the game is more rocket tag or stuff like that. But yeah. And then there's like the weirdest initiative system I've seen, which is the one we're currently using we're currently actually playing in Sentinels Comics, where the initiative system is the DM decides who goes first, and then whoever's turn it is decides who goes next. And that's it. That's the initiative system. But yeah, in general, I'm not as sure as to whether or not it's a good idea to actually have things that reward, or that mechanics that actually give bonuses to initiative, because going first is almost always, regardless of what game you're playing, a fairly strong benefit. On the other hand, there are also games that say fuck it and just let all the players go first. But
Yeah, they're also going to let the players go first. Or there's a game I am playing in. Well, we did like session 0, but haven't done the first actual session because the person running it's been busy.
Yeah.
But uses a very simple you either go fast or you go slow initiative system. And everyone who goes fast, the players go, then the enemies go. And then everyone who goes slow, players go, enemies go slow. And you choose who to go fast or slow on every given turn, determines how many actions you get.
You're basically paying actions for
You
going
get
earlier.
3 actions for going slow as opposed to 2
Okay.
actions going fast.
Got it. Yeah.
So if you need to quickly do something before the enemies go, because the players always go first on each step, you could go slow one turn, go, okay, next turn I'm going to go fast because I'm going to finish off that enemy before I get the turn.
Yeah.
I'll get less actions, but gives you a little bit of thing without doing a whole like roll to figure out your initiative. Plus,
Yeah.
with the like regular D&D initiative, going first is important, but the longer a combat is, the less important it realistically matters, because it only
Yes.
really matters on turn 1.
Which ironically means that it matters a lot more at higher levels than it does at lower levels generally.
Yes, at high levels, when going first can just be I cast a spell and win the fight.
Yeah.
Going first is important. At low levels, when everything's going to be a drawn out combat, because well, I mean at really low levels, like level 1, level 2, you cast color spray, so you still go first and end the fight.
Yeah. You go cast color spray, or alternatively, the things you're fighting will just die in one hit. So going first is still a really good advantage.
Yeah, but in that like 5 to 10 range, where you don't have spells, you don't have enough control spells to be able to control everything that pops up on the field, nor do your spells do enough like AoE damage, single target damage, just automatically wipe everything that shows up for the things who can go first and ruin battlefields. Then you have a case of like going first lets you get a little bit of early damage and maybe take out 1 or 2 enemies, but this combat's going to go for like 8 or 9 rounds. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the initiative system kind of has to match what type of game you're playing in general. Like, the longer a game is playing, the less, as you said, less important it is really for how quickly someone goes. But if the combats are never supposed to be longer than like 2 or 3 rounds, if you're dealing with especially dangerous things, like a lot of skill-based systems, everyone will have low hit points, and a shot from a gun is deadly regardless of how advanced the characters are. Generally, initiative systems are going first is just really important in those games. And of course, there's like the outlier systems that were so much of an outlier that they ditched it themselves, like very early Savage Worlds, where your initiative system was a skill check that could determine how many cards you drew, and thus how many times you went in a round. And also, we put in this one as a balancing factor. And by balancing factor, a fucking stupid idea. We put in this one card that makes it so if you draw it, instead of getting turns, you just don't. That was an idea someone had. I'm saying this as a precautionary tale. Please don't do this. Savage Worlds took it out of their system for good reason.
Not all ideas are good.
But yes, learning from others' failures is important.
Yes.
Okay. instead we have movement, which is sometimes an action, sometimes it's a move action, sometimes it's an action, and sometimes it's move points, depending on the system. I straight up just prefer move points. I don't. It gets really weird spending an action. It gets really weird spending an action that could have been something else as a movement to me, and it also kind of benefits ranged over melee by saying no, you have to spend movement in order to get up to thing, and that means you kind of have to start finagling your system more in order to account for the fact that the guy who doesn't have to move gets an extra action over everyone that does. And there are ways around it, but you're basically just you're messing with more and more things there. This is one of the action types that I just straight up have a stronger opinion on than others. Like I just there's also the idea of like I spend a move action, and regardless of how far I move of all of my movement, the second I stop, I'm done. If I go to do something else, I'm done with the rest of that action. And that is how it actually works in 3.5. A move action is an action type, and you spend it or a move action is an action type, and if you stop your movement at any point and do something else, you're done moving with that action. Whereas in 5th edition, it's effectively movement points. If you have 30 feet of movement, you can move 15 feet, do something, move 10 feet, do something, move another 5 feet, and do something else. Technically, you don't have that many actions, but you get the point. And then there's move equivalent in actions, which annoy the crap out of me, because that's usually like, you do these to like fiddle with items or something instead of actually moving, which good on you for at least not making it so it's like, again, I'm not a big fan of having one of your actual actions in a turn being eaten up by movement per se, but it works better in a system where everyone is basically like, if there's nothing but gunplay in your system, it doesn't matter as much, but in a system where there's going to be a difference between melee and range, that can be kind of annoying. And again, you have to kind of finagle things around to actually make it worthwhile for the melee to be worthwhile. But if that isn't really a thing in your system, if it's a modern era and like a crime drama of some sort, guns are obviously just going to be better. That's fine. That's a thing. And then there's that one weird thing that I think only 3.5 does, which is the 5-foot step / consolation prize movement, where effectively if you don't move for whatever reason, you get a 5-foot step that has the extra a bonus of not provoking an attack of opportunity, and you can take it at any time, which was also the other problem that melee has in 5th edition, because the one thing you could do, which is lock people in, it's like if you ran up to the caster or ranged character, they would have issues shooting at you or casting spells in melee, except no, they don't. They just take a 5-foot step back, so they're still able to access all their actions without having to waste a move action. Was kind of silly. Yeah. And that's not even getting into other systems where movement is not, or well, other systems that are more theater of the mind or even more abstract, where like Saga Edition, for example, there's not distances. You're either close, medium, or long in relation to someone else or in combat. And getting out of combat takes, I believe, extra actions effectively to do, or something like that, from what I remember. Which is good in the sense that if you don't really want to finagle with squares, squares or hexes or whatever, I guess it's fine. But bad in the sense of if you don't have this on a map, it can still get really fucking confusing very fast. So you still basically need a map for this to work. It doesn't really go to theater of the mind very well either. Alien RPG, now I think about it, does something similar as well, and thankfully all their modules tend to either have tend to have decent maps of whatever you're doing, and B, okay, realistically, Alien is a lot of close combat in claustrophobic spaces. That's just kind of the setting, so it's even less important in that respect. It does theater of the mind well when you're doing something like that. But when you're more of an action scene where there might be a decent amount of moving around like you would in like a lot of Star Wars Saga Edition or stuff like that, or current edition of Star Wars, whatever it is. But yeah. And then we get to attacks of opportunity, the pre-mentioned things they basically install in order to try and balance melee and ranged. I mean, I'm okay with there being some threat to keep melee kind of locked in place with each other, or lay melee combat basically lock things down. Like, I'm threatening you, don't you dare try and walk away from me, type of thing. But I don't know how far is too far with that. Like, 3/5s, for example, is any movement, even if you're just walking around them, is still considered to provoke, whereas 5th edition is you can run circles around them all day. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't break melee with them, you're good. Or break out of their melee threat range, you're good. And I also don't know which one I prefer still. The one thing I do find strange with 5th edition, however, is attacks of opportunity eat up your reactions, and they also have other reactions. So if you do one of the other reactions, you no longer have your attack of opportunity, and everyone can just kind of walk away from you. And there's no real way of getting more reactions / attacks of opportunity, so it doesn't feel like it's anywhere near as threatening as it should be. This is compounded by the fact that effectively damage scaling in 5th edition is usually, especially for melee, I just throw out more attacks. So even eating an attack of opportunity after a while isn't as big a deal, because it's only a fractional amount of the damage it would be. Whereas in, like, a guy with a big fuck off two-hander in like 3/5, you're eating an attack of opportunity from him. That is a good portion of the damage he usually does anyways, because the character is rigged to move up and make an attack and do as much damage as possible with that one attack, generally. But the other
I can only speak for...
go ahead.
Sorry, on 5th edition, I can only speak for Monk, because that's the only character I've played. Oh no, I've played Monk and I've played Druid.
Yeah.
And at least both times in there, I felt that giving up the attack of opportunity reaction still gave me access to something powerful, because the reactions did very impactful things.
Yeah.
A big reason my character survives is because the reaction I use pretty constantly is deflecting attacks.
Yeah, which effectively just outright negates a hit against you most of the time.
Yeah, in most instances, unless it's some kind of like special magic attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does like an element or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not as worried about it, but then again, I'm also playing 5th edition Monk, which just machine gun punches.
Yeah. It's also the class that gets around attacks of opportunity pretty easily anyways, because it's one of the two classes that bonus actions to disengage. So it basically uses
if you want to leave,
extra.
you can.
Yeah, if you want to leave, you can. Now, mind you, that's a higher cost for Monk than it is for Rogue, because Rogue's bonus action isn't used for much else.
Whereas Monk's is always at least an attack.
Yeah, whereas Monk's is always at least an attack. After a while, if you're spending key points, it's actually more attacks than your standard attack.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one attack based. You can spend a key point for 2, and eventually you can spend a key point for 3, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think like 12.
Yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity cost to using their bonus action, but there's not a huge opportunity cost for using their reaction.
No.
Because, I mean, you're typically going to be better off, unless you're fighting really weak enemies that would die to a single reaction attack from Monk. You're almost always better off just using reaction to negate damage.
Yeah. Yeah. Monk, especially since Monk's attack.
Also, in any case where something isn't going to walk away from you and you wouldn't be making attack opportunity anyways, you're definitely better off using your reaction to.
That is true too.
Attack.
Yeah. On the other hand, if you attack a monk and you hit, you have a very good chance of being able to walk away from him. But again, players don't fight other players, so it's not really as much of a point in that. Yeah. Player classes in 5th edition are not designed to fight other player classes. That's not part of the design.
Doesn't mean I didn't do it.
Doesn't mean you can't do it, yeah. Hey, their mechanics, they're used to inspire the monsters as well. I mean, you can throw yeah. You don't have to design wholly unique mechanics for every single monster. You can ape from the classes. I mean, monsters cast spells.
ape the classes, and then your party can just pop the fuck off and
roll several freaking 20s for attack
blow,
rolls.
blow right through a fight where the person with the most efficient, two people with the most efficient attacks into the boss who get around the resistance just always hit or rolled multiple crits.
Yes.
I'm sure that's never happened ever.
Nope, certainly never happened. Not anytime recently. I didn't
Certainly
have to
not.
rework plot points because of it.
And
People
then
are monsters.
No, we kill monsters.
and then there's immediate actions, which are kind of the same thing as reactions in 3.5, but there is that one little extra clause where an immediate action actually costs you something on your next turn. That's also something I'm not sure how well I feel about that one way or the other, but it is an interesting mechanic.
Action uses your swift action on the next
Yeah.
round. It's just a weird interaction.
It is a weird interaction, but I would actually find it interesting if you were allowed to basically use the bonus action on your next turn to make a second reaction or something like that in 5th Ed, for example. But at the same time, that's more complicated.
Yeah.
But it does at least make sure that there's always at least a potential use for the bonus action, but then again,
You could do, like, there's ways you could make it work mechanically. Of have, like, you have your whatever your actual action is, and then you get a move that's on action. You just get your move
Yeah.
once every round. Then you could do something like each round you get 2 minor actions. On your turn, you can spend up to one minor action to do all the things that would normally be bonus actions.
Yeah.
Additionally, outside your turn, you can spend a bonus or a minor action to do things that are reactions, and thus, but there's no limit on those besides, say, once per turn. So, in a given enemy's turn, you can only use one minor action to do a reaction, but you could, if you didn't use your bonus action on your actual turn, it'd basically roll over and be a second potential reaction.
Yeah.
It'd be a little bit kludgy for the wording for it, but it would make enough sense.
There's also one game which I could not for the life of me, and this also moves into the next one, which is my next slide anyways, which is standard actions, full round actions, and action points. I know there's a game that at least one of the ideas was at the beginning of the round, everyone gets an equal amount of action points, basically. Like, everyone gets, like, let's say 4 action points. Reactions themselves are one of those action points. So if you spend it, you have 1 less action point on your turn, but you have it from the beginning of the round, and you can spend it. You can spend all 4 action points before your turn comes up for all it matters, which was an interesting concept as well. But yeah, also on to, like, standard actions, full round actions, and action points, which are similar but different ideas of the same thing. I mean, the standard action is the action, the thing you do, and just basically the bread and butter of, like, whatever standard action the character is doing. I really recommend that it very much play into character feel. A fighter should be attacking, a wizard should be casting a spell, a bard should be... Okay, they're probably still attacking. You can't really make up much singing they can constantly do. But occasionally singing, I guess. But yeah. Full round actions also kind of fall into this category, and those are the ones where I kind of think those are just plain freaking obsolete. The idea of full round action was basically adding the standard and
the standard and move action together to be an action. I actually just had a thought.
Huh.
From you pulling up the slide and being like, action points and standard actions, and the 3.5 doesn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are similar systems. Like, I think Pathfinder lets you degrade actions, right?
Not first edition. Second edition just has 3 actions, so
but,
effectively.
But there are.
4th edition lets you degrade actions.
That have things like you have a standard action, you have a move action, etc., and you can degrade higher level actions into lower level actions effectively. So you can use your standard action for doing a standard action or anything that is a lower action type than it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to going back to the previous thought of letting you use your bonus action for an extra reaction in fifth edition.
Yeah.
If you just let actions work that way, make move an action again. But it just gives you, when using it, gives you movement points, and you spend movement points the same way that you do currently.
Yeah.
But that way you could, rather than having to take a dash action, you just downgrade your standard action to another move action if you want to move. But it would also allow you to downgrade your move action or your standard action into extra bonus actions. And if you considered a reaction as a step below bonus action, would let you downgrade any reaction types you haven't used during a turn into reactions.
Yeah, effectively letting you do extra. Yeah, so
Like
effectively,
if you didn't do a standard action on a turn, you get an extra reaction. If you didn't do a move action on a turn, you get an extra reaction. If you
you
didn't do a
could
bonus action on a turn, you get an extra reaction.
you could do 3 bonus actions.
You
Actually,
can do
no.
3 bonus actions you want to.
Yeah, but while we're in the system, we're also going to add the name bonus action to something that makes more fucking sense.
I'm just going to call it minor action.
Yeah, minor action was perfectly fine. It's also exactly how minor actions worked. So
Yeah, you'd have a standard action, a move action, and a minor action. The only reason we'd add move action back to the system is so you can downgrade into it or downgrade it itself.
Yeah.
Because like if you're not going to move in a turn, why can't you use a little bit of that extra effort to dodge an extra attack?
Yeah, I could actually see that as well. Granted, but they're only. I think only Monk, by spending a key, can actually dodge as a bonus action. But yeah, I get the idea.
Yeah, they're dodgeable. But you could also do,
Yeah.
I mean, like for the monk's like special, his reaction thing where he blocks an attack. If
Yeah.
he didn't move it around, he could do that twice because he's not spending any effort running around, doing movement. He's instead staying where he is and using the movement he would have used to move around to instead dodge another attack or block another attack. Similarly, like a fighter, rather than running to the next enemy or chasing other enemies because he's already next to people fighting, he can not move and then get an extra opportunity attack if someone tries to run away. Because instead of having to move around the battlefield, because ideally all actions effectively take place in the same time frame.
Yeah.
Rather than having to run around to an enemy or run to another enemy, he is instead using that energy he would have been using moving around the battlefield to just strike at a person as he tries to strike at a second person as they try and move away from him. It'd be simple enough to just change them into actions, then use downgrading actions to let you give extra reactions.
Yeah, that could be interesting too. Yeah, basically let you actually carry over a downgraded action. Yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, back to this for a moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Standard actions is pretty much there's no game system that doesn't have a standard action. Otherwise, your players are literally seeing their twiddling their thumbs. But yeah, full round actions I think are just obsolete because that is literally combining your standard and move action into like the only one that really made a ton of sense for that was charges. Charges were perfectly fine as a full round action, but I despise full round attacks and iterative attacks from 3.5. I think that's kind of where the system starts to go wrong when it comes to at least melee characters. And granted, if you made a full round attack into a standard action of one sort or another, you have the issue of like a ranged character can still just shoot their weapon and move away, so it doesn't really solve much of anything. But
like there is a reason that we like Book of Nine Swords, and it effectively deals with that issue.
Yeah. It effectively deals with that issue by giving you standard actions that are about as powerful as a full round attack anyways.
Yeah. Which is not really unbalancing in any way, shape, or form.
No. No, they were overcautious with melee and undercautious with spellcasting in the initial book. And didn't really fix it in the 3.5 book, and Pathfinder doesn't really fix it in Pathfinder First Ed because either. But that I wouldn't expect them to. That wasn't really the point of it.
No, it's 3.75.
Yeah, effectively.
It should be a continuation of 3.5, and
yeah, and trying to fix that would basically trying to fix that would make it incompatible with previous things. That wasn't an ability. That wasn't something they could really do with that project.
Yeah.
And then we get to action points, which I do kind of like, actually. I don't hate an action point system, and there are various different ones. Some have 2 action points, some have 3 action points, some have both, apparently. When it comes to Cosmere, I think that was.
Yes, Cosmere uses action points.
Yeah. But yeah, the idea action points is simple. It's you have this many actions, and some actions will cost you more than one action point. So sometimes casting a spell will cost like 2 action points, or will cost 3 action points. I'm not jazzed about one of the actions being movement, because it feels like I should be using that action for something else as much as I can again, so it just kind of gets a feels bad to me, and also it's weird for me to translate moving to not moving unless it's something kind of minor, like deflecting an attack. Okay, making it like somehow working in another entire attack because I'm not moving my feet doesn't make any fucking sense to me, especially since like moving your feet for like melee combat seems to be very much a thing you would be doing if you're trying to get a hit in on your opponent. So
2 people stand next to each other, feet planted, stationary, no movement, swing at each other until one falls down.
Sounds like
like
proper-
RTS.
No.
Units.
They put a dice tray between each other, then they roll a d20, and
It sounds like the proper balance between it would be to have a movement point system and action point system.
You don't see that a lot in pen and paper RPGs, but you do see that a lot in tactics RPGs.
Like what I would typically want to do, would want to do for it is you have a base level of movement that doesn't cost you any action points. So say you could move 20 feet around to 30 feet around, whatever.
Yeah.
4 squares, 6 squares, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
Give the players that just outright. Don't have it cost action points for anything. And then if they want to move more, spend action points.
Yeah, that I'm fine with. Yeah, it's like a dash or a run is.
It's effectively a dash or a run, spending extra action points to move further. But you always have a baseline amount of movement. And if you were going to I need to sprint instead of fight, and thus do like a double or triple move, obviously I'm spending action points to do that because I'm much more focused on moving very quickly, gain to one space to another, as opposed to typical combat where you're going to have some movement to it, so you're going to be moving.
Yeah, and especially in like a system where movement is, it's like in what's realistically a tabletop RPG when it comes to combat is effectively a strategy RPG. They're not really different from each other. And that's the most interesting part of a strategy RPG. Done be the movement part. Why would you be discouraging players from doing the movement part? It's the part that kind of makes it unique and different from like a normal turn-based one. Or the old Theater of the Mind, really, which is effectively is a turn-based game with extra steps.
It's like you put this on a big grid with movement possible for a reason.
Yeah.
Hence why you're not playing. Why this isn't turn-based this isn't like a turn-based RPG combat system. Use it.
Yeah. And the other thing that action points can suffer from is sometimes you really don't want people to be doing repetitive actions, which means you have to install extra little bits on them, like Lancer does, for example, because it is an action point system. Effectively, you have 2 actions. It's just they have quote unquote full round sort of their own full action, which is just basically an action that costs 2 actions, and a good portion of them, and a good portion of them are like duct taping or letting you do the same action twice because it does have a hard rule where you can't do the same action twice. So you can only do skirmish, for example, once per turn, which is attack with a weapon, but you could totally do barrage, which is attack with 2 weapons. But that one specifies attacking with 2 weapons, so you still can't attack with the same weapon twice because it's a limitation they want to have, which they could have just written on skirmish and not worried about. But anyways, and they do that for a great deal of their actions, where it's like, since you can't do this action twice in a round, we totally made up this full round action that does basically the same thing anyways. And for a lot of them, like the hacking equivalent, I forget the name of, may well have been hacking, but that one, the full round action is just do this twice, and there's literally no limitations on it, so you can do the same action twice on the same person because you're hacking into their mech. It's not the same. It's not using there's no limitations of you can't use a weapon more than once in a round or something like that. I think a turn technically if you use it as a reaction you're fine, but
is there a rule that says you can't use the same weapon more than once in a turn?
Obviously,
barrage uses 2 mounts and skirmish uses 1 mount.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that specifically says it. It's just that mechanically you can't do it without figuring out a way around it.
You can overcharge.
You can overcharge. I think there is a hard rule that does say you can't use the same amount twice, but I'm not positive.
It might be a rule saying you can't use the same amount twice, because overcharge is effectively, as I said, you can't use the same action more than once in same quick action, more than once in Lancer. But there is a special action you can do at the cost of heat, which is effectively another resource you have available to you. And the overcharge action does things that are a quick action as a free action instead.
Yeah,
but since it's not using an actual quick action,
it lets you actually do the same thing again. Yeah,
it lets you do the same quick action again.
Yeah,
effectively.
But I think there was a limit to the amount of times you can use a single mount in a turn.
Yeah, there might be a limitation on the mounts themselves that prevent you from using the same mount in each turn. If there isn't, then you could skirmish or barrage and then also overcharge to fire that mount again. Yeah. But I don't know off the top of my head if there's a specific. Like, I knew overcharging was a way to get around the same action or limit for once per turn. But I don't know if that also lets you get around or let you use the same mount again.
I'm not sure on that either. I just have to look it up. But yeah.
Yeah.
And overcharging is also kind of its own interesting little thing where it's effectively a limited amount of extra action points that you can have between basically.
It is a growing in cost.
Yes, it is a very
extra action points in between adventures.
May or may not cause your mech to overheat.
May or may not kill you.
Yeah.
Inadvertently in the process.
Yeah. And moving on to free actions like talking. Which is
all that took place in 6 seconds.
Yep.
I stopped time, monologued for a while, moved some people around.
I stopped time,
restarted time, killed Kakowin.
I was gonna say, calm down there, Dio.
But yeah, free actions, which sometimes are written in rules in the game and sometimes are unwritten rules in the game, such as, okay, how many actions does it take me to take one hand off of a two-handed weapon? It's like a quarterstaff. I mean, it's not like I can't hold this one hand with no issue. It's like any system that charges you any amount of actions for a lot of very swift things is kind of getting way too in the weeds with its finickiness. It becomes more of a question. It becomes more of a question for other things than exactly how much is too much when it comes to free actions at the same time. And it also depends on whether the game defines anything resembling free actions and how much hand waving it actually does. All of these are kind of factors. And then there's swift, bonus, and minor actions, which I also do kind of like, because I do get what the basic point of them is. Or at least one of the points I see of them, because you do kind of want to limit the amount of these that can be done in a turn. It's basically like, if all of your buffs are free actions, then players start hunting around buffs, and especially if you're in a game where the buffs are all numerical advantages of one sort or another, it can get quite silly. And also having the player every time their turn comes up have to recite a paragraph of everything they're doing on their turn can sometimes get fucking old really fast. Granted, they're going to shortcut that to I activate all my crap, but
but they still have to activate all of their crap.
Yeah. It's actually more annoying in a video game, unless there's like a toggle function for it or something, than it is in a tabletop game, because you could verbally shorthand a lot of things that just can't be shorthanded in a video game. Like, I do the same thing as last round is a lot quicker than clicking on several menus. Unless there is literally I do the same thing as last round button on the screen or something, but you get the point. And of course, there is how much talking should you actually allow, which I think my general consensus is, yeah, go ahead. I mean, we're kind of here to hang out anyways. If you want to strategize at the table, go ahead. I'm here too, as the DM.
Oh shit, the DM's here. Fuck.
Activate the trapdoor.
Scatter.
I mean, you could do weird things with online games where you have a side conversation going that the DM can't hear, but I guess. But yeah, I'm also of two minds when it comes to converting swift, bonus, minor, whatever the fuck action. Let's just go with minor. Minor actions upwards. Because sometimes it really is trying to limit, or it depends on how the game is designed and how much they're trying to limit the minor actions. Usually it's fine regardless, but it is kind of a precautionary thing. Like 3.5 is technically not really designed for bonus actions to, or not 3.5, 5th edition is not really designed for bonus actions to be taken as standard or as action actions. But the game won't break if you do that. It's not a fucking big deal. It lives well within its own bounded accuracy and has enough precaution that I'm pretty confident that as a house rule, if you said any bonus action can also just be taken as an action, you wouldn't break anything. Because I can't see anything that would really break outside of maybe, like, don't let a monk do Flurry of Blows twice if they're, like, level 12 or something. Even then, it's like they're spending an extra key point for an extra attack. I think that would be the difference. Which is who cares, almost. They could slightly run hot, I guess, for a little bit of extra damage.
Let me cast Barkskin and Shillelagh on the same round, goddammit.
Yeah.
You can.
No, you can't.
Oh no, Barkskin's also a bonus action.
Yeah, they're
Yes,
both
it
bonus
is.
actions.
Okay, in my new system where you can downgrade action.
Yes.
Yes, you'd actually be able to do that and actually have a standard action. But you're like,
Yep.
If they're eating up their standard action to cast a bonus action in 5th edition, I'd say go for it. It's not going to break anything. It's like downgrading a movement action into a swift action, minor action, bonus action, etc. That's where it kind of gets more questionable to me, but usually it's fine, honestly.
I would honestly say move action is the bottom of the thing. Move cannot be downgraded.
Considering there are bonus actions that actually give dashes, there is that idea. Yeah, it could be argued.
That's effectively what that is.
Yeah. Now, granted, it's a special class feature to dash as a move as a bonus action. It's basically monks and rogues that do that.
Yeah. Figure out something else to give them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to rework classes to make this work.
Yeah.
A lot of effort.
That is a lot of effort.
Is it the only thing they get at that level?
Well, see, here's the thing, though. This is perfect. Like, if you keep move action where it is, then there's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Because bonus action moving is doing a higher level action as a lower level slot. It's a class feature. As a lower level action as a class feature. It only becomes an issue if you decide to push move action at the very bottom that nothing else can, that it can't go down itself, that you start causing issues with those bonus actions that are other actions in themselves.
Yeah. It gets more dicey, basically, when you actually convert move... Yeah.
When you put move action at the bottom as opposed to under standard.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because effectively it lets everyone do a dash action as a bonus action, which is only the purview currently of Monk and Rogue, because it's a specific feature of them, basically.
Or if you put move at the very... I think you're talking about putting move at the very top. So nothing else can be converted into a move action. But then there are things that themselves are already move, like dash is effectively an extra move action. That's just a standard action. So naturally having dash or standard action be able to downgrade to move action is just a dash action.
Yeah. Yeah, dash is effectively the move action that is automatic every round that you can't not take.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, hands. Catching optional. Yeah, so there's also the playing with the stuff that's in your character's hands. Moving shit around on your character, etc., etc. Depending on the system, depends how finicky this is. I think I've in the general camp of, yeah, I'm tired of this shit, just do what the fuck ever. Just don't fucking go crazy. Like honestly, I see the, like, actual, like, drawing weapons, readying a shield, etc. rules as more or less in the same camp as the carrying capacity rules. This is a cudgel I will hit you over the head with if you're doing something stupid, so just don't do something stupid and we can both ignore the fact this exists. And it's definitely more finicky in other systems. Like Pathfinder 2nd Edition, pretty much anything you're doing with your hands is going to be one of your actions. Regardless, just as the rules of that game are written. Even to the point of like raising your shield so you actually get your AC bonus in a round. Which still seems wrong to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a bit much. You should just if you have a shield, you should have a shield.
Yeah.
Like if you want to have some sort of like special additional thing that took an action that you used a shield, I think that'd be fine. But like the base level for I'm giving up a hand to begin with to use a shield should be like an AC bonus.
Yeah.
If you then had like, oh, maybe you get
an additional 1 AC for readying it.
Yeah, you could or you could do like, oh, okay, I'm going to spend as like a reaction. Since I have a shield, I can reduce the damage of an attack by the amount the shield value.
Yeah.
So
something like that. That's a minor trinkety thing.
So they have that as well, but
I know it also has that as well, but it breaks the shield.
Yeah, it does. It does some damage to the shield.
But it still also requires you to spend an action to get your shield bonus to begin with.
Yes.
Which you're using up a hand. I don't think you should have to spend an action to use your shield bonus to begin with.
Also, I don't want extra bookkeeping. The game has enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's like, okay, I'm fairly certain that after a few levels, I could literally have a cart full of shields at a cost that is insignificant to my character. Why are we bothering?
Less bookkeeping. You say, okay, new system. You have 25 action points. All actions cost some number of action points, plus or minus a D4.
Okay, plus or minus a D4.
Making it basically impossible to plan an efficient turn.
We started combat in July, and we finished it in October.
All right, guys, you ready to play the new hit RPG? Do you have your almanacs ready?
And if a plus or minus a D4 makes it too hard, we'll just have a special die that's like -2, -1, 0, 0, +1, +2, and you have to roll that anytime you do an action.
This thing has
Adjust
square roots
your AP used each time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did that attack action this round. It cost 2 extra AP, which means now you don't have enough time to drink that potion. So that sucks to be you. You're gonna die.
But yeah,
you're also only allowed to try and do an action if you have the base amount of AP needed to do it. So even though you could technically roll something like a -1 or a -2 on something that costs like 5 AP when you have 5 AP left, or it's something that costs like 5 AP when you only have 3 AP left, you're not allowed to do it. But if you try and do something that costs 5 AP and would instead cost 6 or 7 to do the die roll, you just lose that action entirely and all those AP points because fuck you.
That seems fair.
I see that you designed various classes in 3.5. How dare you take a chance? Let me kick you in the balls.
Spell casting, you have to roll number D6 equal to the level of the spell. And that's how many AP it takes to cast. If your cast ends up, if the A roll really high and your cast ends up too big for your 25 AP you have in a round, you just don't get to cast that spell and you still use the slot.
Never casting or you're never casting 9th level spells. So you're probably never casting 6th level spells.
Okay, that, but the size of the dice is
and you still have to do the plus minus dice on it as well.
And the size of the dice can be affected by the phases of the moon.
Ah, there we go.
And your astrological symbol.
Okay, then you find out the digital
Are you talking
route.
about the in-game moon or the real-world moon?
Both.
Both.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you have to roll this D31 and this D7 to determine what day of the month and what day of the week it is. Then consult our table. But yeah, also to go over, because I'd be remiss not to, I guess, as far as 3.5 in hands is concerned, once you know all the ins and outs of it, it basically fucking, you get to ignore it. Don't worry about it. It's there's enough shit that it's basically like, you get to draw a weapon and attack in the same action if you have a +1 attack bonus, which is basically anyone past level 1. And after a while, no one ever plays level 1 in 3.5 because it's just kind of miserable. And it's like, whether or not you had a shield ready, yeah, you mostly are just fucking carrying around a shield. It's not hard to have one strapped to your armor most of the time. Like, maybe if you're being ambushed in your sleep or something, that can be kind of special. But, like, in most situations where you're going to be getting into a combat, no one worries about what the fuck is in your hands. You're fine. It may be a little bit annoying if you're switching between things, but that's the worst of it at most. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's about as far as we can milk this topic. So, any closing thoughts from anyone else?
Not particularly.
Expect a full breakdown of my refined A pieces.
Looking forward to the video where we discuss that.
I'm gonna warn you right now, Capricorns, don't play this game. There's some deep problems with the astrological symbols.
Jupiter's in retrograde, so let me check that chart.
Oh yeah, real quick, because I didn't actually make a slide for this. One other way of breaking action economics is summoning, because, you know, fucking obviously when you spend an action to gain more actions, this really breaks things. I didn't bother making a slide because most game designers have already learned that lesson, because they played 3.5. Literally, you only have to play 3.5 for like 5 minutes, and you'll realize how stupid this is. You have one person who plays Druid. The game encourages you to cast Summon Nature's Ally. And they do. And once they get past like level 7 and they start doing this, it's like, okay, let's do something else.
Summon Pounce Missile.
Yes. I summon Pounce Missile that stays around.
To do another Pounce Missile against the next target.
Yes. Or, at worst, the enemy decides to kill it, and they wasted their actions on something that wasn't hurting me. Or my friends.
Then I make another Pounce Missile.
Exactly. It's just dumb. It's so dumb, I didn't bother making a slide for it for precisely this reason.
But Vince, how are our viewers going to know how dumb it is if we don't do it with diagrams? Oh wait, I think we already explained it. Never mind, we're good.
Yeah, we already explained it right now. I've explained it every time we've come up with a summoning spell. I think in every single book. It's like, no, these are the most broken shit you can do in any game. And this is like the worst version of it by a lot. But yeah, it is just about that time, a little early, but it's fine. So yeah, that will be all we'll have for you this week. Join us on Sunday for more Super Robot Wars 30.
Preempt you and say that Monday we will not be having Digimon. I have a family thing I need to go to.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. No problem. Yep. And join us on join us back here on Thursday for the next book in D&D and Hindsight, which will be Cityscape. A book of city stuff.
Yep.
We didn't have it, so I'm doing reading, okay.
Yeah, I don't think Cityscape was one of the books we had.
No.
That was getting towards the end of 3.5, and we were transitioned over, or starting to transition over to Pathfinder at that point, so.
Yeah, there was a bit of that too. But yeah. Till next time, I'm Vincent.
I've been the Krampus.
I've been Shiv.
I've been Hunter Green.
And I'm Vincent. And remember, everyone, Hindsight is a free action, and it gives you 20/20, or something like that.
It's a really good free action.
Yep. Right there, we're talking.
Is that a +1 or +2?
What, Hindsight?
The 20/20.
Well, if it's like 20 out of 20, it's like 1.
Yeah. Literally, it's 20 divided by 20.
That's how the math works.
Exactly. All right. Bye, everyone.
I don't know. I've seen how RP books do math.
That's true. They tend to round down. Thaco. Yeah.
Not actually challenging at all. People are just dumb.
All right. Where are we going?